Welcome to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere with your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere. This is Chris Parker, your host, and I have Gift Lubele coming in from South Africa today. And I'm so excited to hear about what Gift is doing. We're both part of the Open EXO community, the global community of exponential thinkers and doers, and that's where we met. He also got connected there as one of the entrepreneurs selected for the Singularity Singularity University event in South Africa, and I was also introduced, through Singularity, so there's some commonality there. And I'm really interested to hear what he's doing around the area of data and waste and the other activities. So, Gift, welcome, and can you please, for myself and for everyone else, just describe what do you do and why do you do what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. Firstly, hello to all your listeners, and hello to you too, Chris. Lovely to be here. Super excited. My name is Gift Lubele. I really love how you pronounce my last name, Chris. Absolutely lovely. I'm currently serving as a COO of a company called Gift. Now, for your listeners, the word Gift means trash in Zulu. Zulu is one of the South Africa's official languages. And the whole idea behind Gift is to really transform how waste management is done in the African continent. So at the moment, what we want to do is become a leading digital platform for the African continent, particularly for waste management companies, and in helping them essentially increase efficiency in their operations, as well as reducing cost. If you probably know, Chris, at the moment, Africa contributes about 108 million metrics of waste every single year, and only 10% of that goes to recycling facilities, which means a whipping 90% of the total waste the African continent currently produces ends up in landfills. And that's a bit sad, because it means that anything that goes there cannot be reused, cannot be recycled. And that essentially is the major problem that we are trying to, get to. What we found is the reason this happens is because of a lot of inefficiencies that exist within amazing waste management companies that are already trying to tackle this issue. And there's no system that we have found that offers a really holistic solution for waste management companies.
And Gift, I've read up on it. It seems to be like there's also an app involved, and so people can I think request certain types of waste to be picked up at a certain time, and make it much more of a easier experience around that. Is that sort of the angle there?
Yeah. So we actually like to call ourselves a platform. The reason being that we, at the moment, do three things. So the reason we're not really an app is, and we don't have an app that one can go to like an app store and download, but it's a web app rather. It's a link that we then use. But the reason we call ourselves a platform is because we do three things at the moment. So the first one is we work with waste management companies to help them with coordination of their waste activities. What we found is a lot of inefficiencies within the waste management is caused by manual services, in places where these services or processes could be easily automated. What we also then do is we optimize logistics by streamlining processes. And then lastly, we work with waste management companies to help them get actionable insights from the data and analytics part of things. It's so amazing how many waste companies have collected data for centuries, but none of them are using that data in a way that adds value to their operations. And so as Gift, what we also try to do is incorporate and integrate already existing systems in that the waste management companies use in our system to give them a holistic overview.
Incredible. And so meaningful as well. As COO, what is your responsibility, or what was your contribution to that? What does the operation look like that you're
Yeah.
managing?
I would like to answer that question with three numbers. So the first one is 10. That's the first number. 10 is the amount of clients I, as a COO, need to bring. And these are early adopters. And I say that because we literally started the company last year in January, myself and my other co-founders, Matthew and Press. And that year I was still working as a research engineer at one of the telecommunications companies in South Africa. And only this year, literally a week before South Africans lockdown, I resigned. And I resigned to be full-time into Gift. So 10 is the amount of clients that I need to bring to the company, and I'm working closely with my CEO. These are early adopters. These are waste management companies who are either having logistical issues or data analytics issues, or they're still using paper-based processes that are making their systems a bit redundant and slow and inefficient. Mm-hmm. Then the other number, which is the second number, is 5. Yeah. 5 is 5 million because that's where we ideally want to. That's ideally where we want to get to from a seed funding point of view. At the moment, everything that Gift has built has been purely from our own pocket. So we've bootstrapped every single thing that we have today. And so 5 million South African rands is essentially what we would like to raise in a few coming months. And then I think the last number that is quite impressive, or rather something that I do on a daily basis as a COO in trying to go and achieve, is essentially our version 1 of the platform. So working closely with my CEO, we're trying to build, because right now we have a beta model that really works. So we have a few clients trying it out and they're really giving us good feedback, but we want to get to a really amazing product by the end of this year. So my role as a COO on a daily basis is to come in, and whether it's through marketing, whether it's through client engagement, whether it's through investor communication, is to really try and get to those numbers.
Incredible. So 5 million South African rand is about €250,000 or so. So it's that's not an impossible number, and for such a meaningful project. Why is this important to you? So that's the why are you doing what you do? Because you just quit a job, a well-paying, safe job, just before the Corona crisis hit. Did you do that on purpose? Did you know the crisis was coming, or was it a total accident? Or you? Yeah. So
Chris, you should have heard my mom when I told her that. Yeah. When I told her that I'm leaving, and then literally a week after, all of my colleagues were like, "We're not going to work anymore. We're still at home. We are working from home." Yeah. But they were still paying. And my mom has been saying, "Man, your timing is so bad, Gift.
Well,
you could have at least."
So bad or so good, because there is an argument. Well, there's an argument to say burn the boats, because if you have this cushy corporate paycheck, then I'm not sure, there's a different level of motivation, but why waste? What is this about you, and why are you there?
Right. So to answer your question, I actually left this job because I really do believe in a world where waste is valued. And besides all the statistics and the shocking statistics around waste, I'm going to give you a personal story. So when I was in high school, I started my first business, and it was also recycling. I literally went house to house going to pick up plastic, and I would turn this plastic into these cool outfits like jackets and hats and a bunch of other products like bags. And there's still a picture of me online. But what really, I guess, gave me meaning was how impactful waste management is to a lot of families within the African continent. At the moment, the stats that you would find online says about 60 to 100,000 individuals are currently employed informally in the waste industry throughout the African continent. But I think the number exceeds that exponentially. Personally, there was a lady that would come to our house when I was still staying in some part of Joburg, and she would come there almost every single day, 5 a.m., Chris. By the time my mom didn't have a house, so we stayed in this little place, little room where it was rented at someone's yard. And this lady would literally go room to room asking for waste. So anything that you have in your bin, she would say, can I get in? Can I look for stuff that I'm looking? And she obviously needed different types of waste materials. And one time I got to speak to her and I asked her, why is it that she's doing this? And she told me that she's putting 2 kids to school. That's why she's doing this. And I think really that kind of put personal touch into these shocking statistics that I was reading about waste. And I started seeing in real life impact that, you know, the waste industry has on individuals. What's more sad is I found out that these individuals who are doing so much work, I mean, they wake up 4 a.m. every day, they sleep 10 a.m. every single day. The only day that they're off is Sunday, and they walk miles and miles every single day. Those very same people are the ones that get the smallest peanuts. They get like so little money, and the money that they're getting literally just is bare survival. You know, it's just bricked. That's what they're working for so hard. Furthermore, when I dug a bit deeper, I realized that, you know, there's a lot of middlemen in the waste industry, and that is what's making these individuals have so little. Yeah. But more pressing is the systems, right? There is no system in waste. There's different individuals working in different ways, and there's no holistic system that kind of connects these individuals together. And so we've attempted several things in Godoti. So we've started by directly working with these informal waste pickers by providing them with this kind of bicycle-like thing that they would use to go from house to house, because they currently walk, and that's a lot of walking that they do. But that didn't work. And then we thought, wait, at the moment in South Africa, there's a lot of trucks that are parked and they need work. And on the other side, you have these individuals who actually have waste and they need to transport it elsewhere. So why don't we connect the two? And we started doing that. What made us stop is the fact that waste is measured on weight and not volume. What that means is if you filled an entire truck with, say, maybe plastic, it doesn't matter. What matters is the weight of that plastic. So what that meant was we needed to shred the plastic, and we needed to then, you know, get as much weight out of that as possible. There's no way we could do that. There's no way we could go around giving these individuals or these small waste companies machine. That is impossible, and it goes against the attributes of open, you know, of exponential organizations. You know, if you can, you should avoid having physical stuff, right? Yeah. And so what we then realized was what's missing is a system. What's missing is a platform. And I kid you not, Chris, the feedback that we're getting now is absolutely amazing. And we're working with small waste management companies. We're working with big companies that are not even in waste, but they have waste projects that they're doing in communities. And so with the platform that we do, although we're working with these big companies that are not even waste, we're providing value to the informal waste pickers in different communities.
Incredible. And can you explain the journey for me? So it's like if I'm a waste picker, what does this platform mean to me, and what happens to the waste? Because I guess those are two paths. Yeah. Right.
So let me give you firstly like an overview or like a user journey of what's happening at the moment. So as a waste picker, many cases, these informal waste pickers go house to house to ask for waste. Some actually go to commercial places like malls and maybe corporate offices and stuff like that, but most of them aren't permitted to do that. Once they do have waste, in almost every single case that we have found, these individuals take their waste to what they call a buyback center. That's where you essentially sell your waste, and then your waste gets weighed and you get paid whatever amount you get paid. Some advanced buyback centers have integrated an online system, so they don't pay you with physical cash. They kind of do like what we call an e-wallet in South Africa. So that's like sending money on your phone. Then what happens is the buyback center then takes that waste, aggregates it, then sells it either to the final processor of that waste or to another middleman. And in some cases where they are selling it to middleman, you'd find that they actually don't have logistics capability to deliver this amount of waste that they are getting from these informal guys. But let's assume in this case they send it to the big guy who then converts this waste into different products. If it's plastic, they would convert it into plastic pellets that then could be used to manufacture new products like bottles and so on. And that's the current kind of user journey. What happens within that process is, let's start with the informal waste pickers. The informal waste pickers firstly need to find someone who they would need to give the waste to. Now imagine for a sec if these guys knew, even before they collect waste, how much they're going to get for the waste that they're collecting. If they knew where they're going to take it and it's within close proximity. Then once the waste is at the buyback center, imagine if, let's assume the buyback center doesn't have logistics capability. Some buyback centers just have a few machines and all they do is take waste, process it, and then they need to find someone with a truck. Imagine for a sec if that buyback center had a platform where they could just simply go in and click, I have waste, one button, and then the information of the amount of waste they have, how much they're willing to pay for it, goes out to all the third-party logistical stakeholders that they were working with to say, hi, I'm whoever, this is my location, come pick it up and drop it at this location, this is my budget. But more excitingly, imagine if those guys started tapping into the data of how much waste we are producing, the data as to how much waste we are like sending out, the data as to how much are we spending from a logistics point of view compared to this guy, right? So almost like an Uber-like model. But I think it goes a little bit further than that. And it taps into other systems already, because when this buyback center then sends out a request and it goes out to these available drivers, just like an Uber, one driver accepts it, comes to pick up at the best price for that buyback center. Yeah. Then it goes to this much bigger guy who in many cases doesn't have proper data that he then collects, visualizes, and takes insights from it. And that's what we intend on doing through our platform. And there's a lot of assumptions that we've made along the way. And one massive assumption was, everyone has a smartphone. Like, who doesn't have a smartphone? It's actually quite a lot of people. So we thought, okay, maybe the informal guys, because they are still working at very low scale, some actually have smartphones. But what's interesting is the buyback centers, the small to medium sized companies, some people don't even have smartphones, they have feature phones. So we kind of had to adapt our platform into using SMS and not an app, right? And that's I guess adding to the point of we're not really an app, we're more of a platform. But there is that feature that allows people with smartphone to go online and have this kind of web app experience through our platform.
Incredible. And it just sounds A, so inefficient, and B, so ripe for a data-driven productivity improvement. So it's incredible. And what is for the informal waste picker, like the lady you met when you were still living with your mom, what is the impact, the financial impact on her revenue? Like, does this improve her performance somehow, or what's the payback for them?
Yeah. So I'll answer that through a project that we're doing in Khayelitsha. So in Khayelitsha, there is people who are collecting waste, and they have been collecting waste for a very long time. And what the informal waste pickers normally do is, if, say for example, the buyback center where they take the waste is too far that they can't walk. And what's interesting is the this case study, 80%, if not more, are women. So we're talking about elderly women between the ages of about maybe 35 to about 50 who are collecting waste on a daily basis. So if it's too far and they can't walk, they need to call someone and say, hey, I need you to come pick up our waste. But what happens is when it's just one lady calling a guy with a truck, the costs are really big. But if you find a way of aggregating the waste that these informal waste pickers collect, then economy of scale, right? So you have the cost of the collection doesn't really go up, and the benefit to these informal pickers drastically increases. So that's one way. But another way is a lot of organizations and big companies want to work with these informal waste pickers. But there is no system in place. So there is no way of them really helping. Even if they do help, as you might know, Chris, corporates need reporting, right? So if they do come in and they help a certain community, they want to know, before we helped you, what was wrong? What happened when we were helping you? What happened after? There's no system that allows these companies to do that. And with the case that we're doing in Cape Town, we're working with a company that is now helping these individuals with things like protective equipment. It's helping these individuals with things like training, understanding waste, but also understanding your safety, right? And lastly, about what you were saying from a financial point of view, what's interesting about this is they've started now integrating some of the work that these ladies have done into government programs. So in South Africa, there's this program that the government is running where people are paid as long as they're doing, something within that program. What's interesting is this company is now integrating that program into the livelihood of these ladies. And because they still continue picking up waste, that is community service in a way. But what's interesting is they are now able to tap into this program, and they're now able to get paid directly from the government through this platform, and they get money. But previously there was no system that enabled them to do that. And I think those are the few benefits that we're just seeing now, having started this thing literally a few months ago. And so the bigger we go, from an educational point of view, from an opportunity of corporates working with informal waste pickers point of view, there's so many opportunities that I think more informal waste pickers like the lady I met are going to benefit by not changing how they do things, by simply digitizing how they do things.
I'm loving the story, and I can imagine you're having to solve problems every minute and innovate around some of these things and assumptions you make that bite you in the ass when you get out into the real world. That's just startup land. Good on you. And one of the questions that came to my mind is maybe it's the accountant in me. If you formalize the informal, doesn't that make all this taxable? Isn't there a risk of actually, in the end, penalizing these informal waste pickers because of, like, how do you rationalize that, or is that even a risk there, or what do you think?
Right. Yeah. So the idea is not to formalize the informal. The idea is to digitize the informal.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the key word. Still do things informally, but have this digital place where you could go. And you're right in saying that the minute you formalize things, Chris, even formalizing things is problematic, right? And I say that because part of formalizing anything in South Africa requires you to have proper documentation. And there are some individuals who aren't necessarily from South Africa, and they're making an impact, firstly, and they are making a living out of waste. So if you come in and say, well, we're going to formalize this, automatically you are cutting half of the population of people that you want to work with.
Yeah.
And then second to that is the process of formalizing things, it brings out so many other questions, right? And what we don't want to be those people. Maybe there is going to be an organization that has and finds a way to formalize what these informal guys are doing. But for us is to help them be more digital. by virtue of doing that, we're not only helping the informal guys, by virtue of making them digital, we are building the first step towards a much more bigger digitized circular economy that is trackable online and is accessible almost everywhere through this website, right? And so in South Africa, to add to that, there's been interesting regulations that are currently being amended that are particularly promoting environmentally friendly activities. But formalizing it is going to be a bit more hectic for us. And maybe later on, Chris, we are able to sit and say, okay, with so much years of experience and so many, case studies, maybe we can formalize it. But for now, and I think there's a lot of case studies, when I went to Kenya, for an example, I saw how M-Pesa has impacted Kenya. I mean, when I read last, I think 52% of the entire Kenyan money was going through M-Pesa. That's a lot of money. And what M-Pesa did wasn't formalize anything. It digitized things. Chris, I kid you not, from the tuk-tuk, the little informal thing that you take on the street, all the way to like a 5-star hotel with a chef who has 2 Michelin star, you can pay with M-Pesa. That's how interesting digitization has made things these days. And we aim on doing the same thing, but with waste.
Yeah.
And it's having that traceability. It's having that those things. You open so many other opportunities by doing that.
Amazing. And your first number you shared is 10, and so 10 customers. Do you have customers now? You said there's some pilots going on, but where are you on your objective?
Right. So we halfway there.
Great.
So so we're halfway there. What's interesting is the fact that our clients, we're based in South Africa. Our clients aren't only from South Africa. We have clients in Uganda. We have clients in Tanzania. We have leads in Nigeria. We have clients in Mozambique. And what's interesting is, although we are a year and a few months old, we're noticing quite early on that this problem is not a South African problem. It's a continental problem. And I would argue that it's a global problem. There is no single system that really offers what we're trying to do, a holistic platform that really is built around increasing efficiency within waste management. Yeah. And what we are noticing now is, these clients of ours are also really excited. And what we've also noticed is they have used systems before, but these systems aren't made for waste. It's things like Salesforce, it's things like SAP, it's things like Sage, right? You would know this, Chris, as an accountant. These are accounting tools. These are customer relationship tools. These are resource planning tools. And so there's a lot of efficiencies, in how effective they could be in helping these companies. So we're halfway through the number 10, but we definitely are in the process of looking for more clients. We want more waste management companies, particularly in the African continent, who would be, I guess, interested in just trying out our solution.
Yeah. Outstanding. And if there are any potential clients out there, corporate clients, waste company clients, then it's kudati.com, and we'll put that in the show notes. But we're almost out of time, but I would like to take a little bit of a different view at yourself, Gift. And you also have giftlubele.com, which is your own personality. Can you share a little bit on the inspiration behind, because it says the African continent needs a new narrative. Join me as we create it, and that seems like an MTP there in itself. Is that your massive transformative purpose?
Yeah. So to give you some reason why I started the blog, in literally less than 2,800 plus days, the African continent is going to be home to more young people than any other place in the world. 2,800 plus days. that's just around the corner, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what that means is there's a lot of things that would come with young people, new trends, new stories. And the reason I created my blog personally was so I help such amazing young Africans share their story. And what you would see is on the blog, I actually have a blog part where I just write, and it's nothing too serious. It's a little bit separated from business, and to me, it just serves as a digital diary. So whether I am meeting someone and the experience is a bit enlightening for me, then I just kind of write down this experience. I was in Amsterdam, and I always wanted to go to the Vincent van Gogh Museum, and I went there. And when I got there, I actually wrote a piece about that. But a huge, I guess, another reason why I'm really continuing with my blog is I come from a very disadvantaged background, Peter. Sorry, Chris. I don't know why I called you Peter.
I am not Spider-Man. I do have a secret superhero identity, but I'm not telling you because it's secret.
I think that's what came in. I was like, oh, I'm talking to a superhero. Sorry about that. Yeah. So what I was saying, Chris, is I come from a really not so good looking background, family of 12, single mother, very deep in the village in a province called Limpopo. And a lot of my friends who I went to primary school with, I've seen how lack of exposure, lack of experiences has eventually let them thinking in a very narrowed way, right? So when I have this vlog and I have these different experiences, what I'm trying to do is give my experiences and share my experiences with these individuals. And there's a lot, Chris, there's a lot of guys out there with amazing potential, and they're stuck somewhere in a village, and there really is little opportunity of them having an external perspective, right? And through my vlog, the reason I said let's create a new African narrative is I want them to not feel ashamed that they don't have opportunity, not feel ashamed that they grew up in a village somewhere, but I want them to embrace that. And I want them to share that with the world, to show them that even if you're from a village, it's fine. That's going to contribute quite significantly to the person that you become in the end. And you shouldn't be afraid of that. And through the vlog, that's what I try to do. I do also add a bunch of business tips here and there. I'm continually getting emails from amazing young people all over Africa saying, hey man, would you like to mentor me? And I've already started doing that. Some have started engaging. We have some session. I kind of learn about what they do. I help where I can. And it's amazing how just reading something on the internet gives so much light. And maybe I know we have little time, but we
are over time, but I'm enjoying what you're saying. So keep going. Yeah.
So there's an individual who I've been like kind of mentoring, and he's from Zimbabwe. And Chris, if you've been reading the news, you would know that things are not going well in Zimbabwe. The inflation rate went to 800% plus, right? So things are really tough in Zimbabwe. But this individual is selling clothes, Chris, and he is convincing people to buy his brand. And you need to know that people in Zimbabwe, whenever they buy something, especially in these tough times, you're almost asking them to choose between bread and a shirt that you created, right? And he's doing it. And I've been speaking to him, and it's just amazing to see how people, even in extraordinary events, even in extraordinary environments, are still somehow finding hope and really pushing beyond the odds. And I hope to get more of those through the vlog.
Lovely. Well, as they say, need or disaster or whatever is the mother of invention or innovation. Right. So that's also why I thought maybe it's not a bad thing that you quit your corporate paycheck, to put some fire under your bum to get things moving. And it sounds like you're getting things moving in an amazing and meaningful and beautiful way. And so I'll put the website for Kudoti.com and Gift Lubele, and you're going to laugh at me again. You smile at me every time I say it. Lubele, I love your name. Awesome. So thank you so much. I'll put your links there in the show notes. And I would urge anyone, particularly in the African continent, who has a need for digitizing waste, to give you a shout. And if there's also seed investment money in the term, the range of 5 million rand, or it's €250,000, give or take, to give you a shout. And if anyone out there can help you with your metrics, that would make this whole podcast worth it, to make those kind of connections. So, Gift, thank you so much for joining. I really, really appreciate the time.
Thank you very much for having me, Chris.
Learn more at ebillion.com/podcast.